Hello, my name is KZ Tizzle, and today we will be doing a Town of Salem tier list. This one's not going to be as long as my other one. I'm not going to dive into too much depth for each one, since a lot of people may not know what I'm talking about with this game, Town of Salem. But basically, this is a it technically is a mobile game, but it's a PC game that's been around since I think 2010. But it's garnered pretty big cult following for its skill and strategy gameplay in it, and I played a lot of it. But today we will be ranking the basic roles, not the DLC expansion roles, but we will be ranking the basic roles, and we will be ranking them based on how fun and how useful they are. Not necessarily how powerful they are, but just I guess favorite roles. Just like when you get the role, you're like, yes, I want to play this. Because in Town of Salem, at the beginning of every game, every person is given a different role. Or not a different role, but a random chance to get a role that could be different, and most likely is. But let's get right into it. And I apologize for the people that have not played Town of Salem. It's a great game. I cannot recommend it enough. And if you don't like Town of Salem, maybe this list ain't for you. But most importantly about this list, it's mostly based on the fun factor and the sheer power, right? Or not the sheer power, but just the stuff you can do, I guess, and how fun it is. Just the fun factor is the main aspect. So let's get right into Ambusher. And Ambusher is pretty decent. He's not going in D tier yet. I'm just ranking this. Also, I got the F tier this time in the S tier instead of just A, B, C, D. A little bit more unique. So Ambusher is a mafia rule, and their job is they actually go to someone's house, and if someone visits them, they attack them. And the person that is killed or attacked is told who told who the ambusher is. So the ambusher can be a very helpful mafia ally, because sometimes the mafia really needs to get more kills just to get the target off their back, get all the investigative results off the back. And ambusher can really alleviate some of that pressure. However, oftentimes ambushers, usually I'd say probably the first mafia to go out, since he's risking a lot, because when he goes out, and if the person that he attacks lives, either they get healed or they're a specific role that couldn't die to them, they can easily be ratted out. I mean, not necessarily by a good guy, because most good guys don't have defense at night and can visit someone, but they at least someone will know their role. And if there's a medium, the ambusher is just basically immediately ratted out in competitive play. So I'd have to put the ambusher probably at B tier. I'd say he's a killing role, so he's pretty fun, and you're also part of the mafia. Okay, let's get into the amnesiac. Amnesiac, this is a great role just because you get to pick your role. So I can't imagine, you get to pick what you want, and it can be basically almost every role in the game. Now, this role is very fun because you basically get to decide what you want to be, and that's an easy A tier, if not S tier. The only reason I wouldn't put him in S tier is because if you get tacked on night 1, or there's not a role on night 1, or even night 2, or by day 2, I guess, you just get fucked, and you have no win condition. And that's why I put him at A tier, because if you're risky, you can play it out and then pick a really juicy role, which is kind of nice. even though the town will know who, or the town will know that someone among them picked it, but still pretty good. I put a definite A tier. Arsonist fun factor is probably up there with the S tier. His power is ridiculous. This probably is the most busted character in the game, I'd have to say. Especially with the new the buffs where a person, if anyone visits him, he can douse them in a night. I think this is completely busted, and I think that his old ability was perfectly balanced, if not still really good for the arsonist, because he has immunity at night, which means that if you attack him, you can't kill him with a basic attack. Man, arsonist is just so annoying. If the witch goes to the arsonist, she basically is completely fucked because she can't work with them because they will just douse, or they already have her doused. And I've had a situation where a witch has witched me before, and I was arsonist, and they whispered to me, "Are you going to ignite?" And am I doused? And of course I lied and said no, and then ended up having to kill her. And unfortunately, arsonist especially in all any or um, unranked or ranked class or practice ranked, I forget what the game was called, but arsonist is just completely busted. And blackmailer. Let's put blackmailer about a C or B, because they're pretty, actually, maybe C or D, actually, because there's not, it's kind of unique getting to see the whisper rolls, but your ability at night is, it's not bad, it's just not really that fun, because what they do is they pick someone, and that person cannot talk for the next night. It's kind of fun for the entire Mafia to just, if they have enough people, they can blackmail someone, put them on the block, and then they can't say shit. All they can say is I'm blackmailed, and then 99% of the time people are like, oh, that's a fake. It's a fake, just kill him already. Which is really annoying sometimes, especially when you actually have information you want to say. But yeah, blackmailer is definitely a high C tier in my opinion. Oh, bodyguard. Bodyguard's a protective rule, and I don't even, it's one of the weirder rules where if you die, you kind of feel satisfied and that you at least protected someone. So bodyguard picks someone and they protect them, and if that person is attacked, they actually kill the attacker along with themselves unless they were healed by the doctor. And other than that, they also get one bulletproof vest that they can use to protect themselves one night from basic attacks. So bodyguard's an interesting spot because I want to put them at B tier because they're one of the better town rules, or I guess I don't know if they're better town rule, but they can be very, very good against arsonists. So, in fact, that's probably like the highest percentage of arsonists killed are just straight up taken out by bodyguards and all any. But other than that, they're just kind of, they're pretty balanced. They're not busted at all, and I have to put them at B tier in terms of fun, I guess, because it's a town role. It's one of the more fun town roles, I guess. Not to say that all town roles are boring, but there are a lot that kind of stink. Speaking of ones that kind of stink, actually, this is the bad. So this is the consigliere. This is actually not a role that stinks. I actually really like this role. Now, I think this role, everyone says it's sorry, there's a light going on outside. What's going on? Oh, we're good. Okay, but never mind. Consigliere has a very, very good ability for the Mafia, and it used to be a little bit weak because the old spy used to be able to tell where the Mafia. Well, actually, the spies can still do that. It's still pretty good. Never mind. Consigliere picks a role and it basically tells them what that specific role was, barring any bullshit like transports. That's all there is to it. It gives you a neat or a unique little sentence like this person plays with knives, they are the serial killer. Or this person plays with bloody knives, they are the serial killer. It's more specific. But yeah, they're pretty good for the mafia. If they find anyone bad, they can usually recruit them, and that's why I put them at A tier. Okay. Consort. This one kind of sucks. Consort and escort both really suck. At least consort's on the mafia, and that makes it a little bit more fun. In fact, I'm just gonna bring escort up here. Where is escort? Escort is straight up F tier. It can be helpful in the end game, but it's just so boring to wait for that end game, and half the time you're just murdered by a serial killer. So yeah, escort and consort have the same exact role, except one's on the mafia, one's town. They pick someone, and then they prevent them from doing their role or their task. In most circumstances, that's what happens. The disguiser. This role used to be really, really cool and really janky. Now it's not as bad because you pick a role and then your role gets disguised as that in the graveyard when you die. Other than that, it's kind of boring, to be honest. At least you're with the mafia. But you can confuse the hell out of town sometimes. But sometimes it just is really confusing because the mafia, it will like say the mafia killed the mafia because they didn't pick a role or they picked the wrong role or something. But yeah, Disguiser is probably maybe even a D tier role, but I'll probably put them in C for now. Maybe change it later. Doctor. Doctor's a pretty good town role, but most town roles aren't the best. Maybe Doctor's a B tier. I don't know. I'll put them at C tier. They pick someone and it heals them. They can pick themselves to heal them once as well. Fun factor. It's pretty fun helping yourself and saving someone, so maybe that bumps that up to B tier a little bit. I think it's... Do I think it's more than blackmailing, though? Maybe not. Maybe it's a high C tier. Maybe that's probably it. I might move them up. And I might move some of these, because there's just some... Ugh, it's weird. Executioner. Not my favorite role. It's kind of fun to be immune, but other than that, it's kind of a boring job, and sometimes you just cannot kill your targets since they're completely confirmed. So they go C tier for me. Maybe even D tier, but we'll think about that. Like I said, they're basically immune, and it could be very difficult lynching your target sometimes. When you do lynch your target, though, you basically you automatically win, and you can just you can just side with whoever you want, and that might might bump it up a little bit. I really do like that aspect to Executioner. But it's just, if you don't do that though, it's really boring. Forger, we get another one that's kind of meh. This one, you can forge a will. I think I might bump these up a little bit. I think Ambusher might be up here. And then Doc is not that. Doc is okay. I'll probably put right there, actually. I think that's probably a little bit more reasonable. Is Doc better than Bodyguard, though? Yeah, probably. They're probably about the same. I can't really rank them differently, to be honest. Blackmailer, you're part of the Mafia, so I guess it's better. Yeah, that's typically how it is. If you're part of the Mafia, you're gonna be a little higher. This is all a little whack, my ranking right there, but I think I got it better now. Forger, Forger gets to frame a will or forge a will. It's almost never useful because people are a little either oblivious to the will that was created, not taking in any information, any false information, or they just don't even read it and don't acknowledge it. So yeah, it's a C tier roll. It's okay. Ugh. Framer. Framer's a solid D tier roll because your ability is completely garbage, but the only redeeming factor is that you're part of the Mafia. If you weren't part of the Mafia, you'd be straight F tier. You actually, this might be the bottom of the barrel of F tier if you weren't in the Mafia. Because all you do is you pick someone, and if they get investigated by a sheriff or investigator, then it shows them as being bad or something. It's terrible. It's a terrible role, but low D tier for me. Mafioso, the classic killer of the Mafia. You get to actually do the killing, which is it's admittedly better than I think both of these roles because you actually get to do something, and if these two, I forgot to mention something. If any of these Mafia roles die, and there's only one, or if this guy dies and there's only one of these left, they become the Mafioso. And the fun factor with the Mafioso is that they can actually kill. And this was what probably puts them above or above the other Mafia roles, is the simple fact that they can kill, and like you can win as just a Mafioso. You can't win as just these guys. And especially and you get turned into this role, and that's why I think it's kind of important for this guy to be kind of probably B tier, high B tier to be honest. Okay, we're not doing too bad, I don't think. We got the Hypnotist. This is just an okay rule. Low C tier. All they do is they pick a rule. Saved by the Mafia once again, but they pick a person and they can generate a random message for them. It's never useful, or it can be useful, and it can be cleverly useful. You can just use to fuck with somebody, and that's what I usually do. I usually pick someone and just say, like, you've been healed, and then I do it like 2 days in a row, and then I just fuck off with them. And that's why I think it's a little fun. And that I would put it in D tier, but I think it's just a little bit better than these two roles. I think there's not many Mafias left. But here we got a town role, Investigator. Investigator, I personally, I like the fun factor. I think Investigator is a fun role for the town because you actually feel like a genius when you actually put it all together. But alas, most people don't view it that way. You pick someone and they give you basically 3 roles that they could be, barring any like bullshit, such as like a transporter or something. But yeah, I'd say they're about middle of the pack, to be honest. Not too bad. Maybe in between these guys, I guess. Might be kind of weird them splitting the Mafia, two Mafia roles, but it's probably the definition of a middle of the road pack. Maybe a little below average, but I really do have a soft spot for this role. I think it's fun, especially for the town. Oh, well, we're going to the next goated role, and this one is my second favorite role in the game. Actually, I don't know if it's my second. It might be my third, but this is straight S tier. Jailer is so fun to play as. You have so much power. You can fuck it all up, but you're still the punishment for executing a townie is still, it's not even that bad because you can still jail people. You can single-handedly save your allies from destruction and also single-handedly carry your allies into destruction. It's a town hall that picks a person, and at night they lock them in a jail cell, and they can either execute them or let them go. And the funny thing about it is that you actually get to talk to the person at night for the 25 seconds you have before you either choose to execute them or let them go. And it's very tense because if the serial killer is jailed by the jailer and they don't kill him, then the serial killer kills the jailer. There's a bunch of other stuff that can go down, such as a werewolf killing the jailer, but wow. You basically feel like there's nothing in the world that can stop you. It's the best town roll in the game, and it's not even close for the town rolls. And it might be considered the best, like the most fun role to play. Especially when you're doing it with buddies and you jail them and then you just talk shit to them before you execute them, or you bait people out by saying, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, and then you just don't. It could be really funny, especially since you can write funny death notes to them as well. Clearly an S tier role. I'd definitely put it above Arsonist just because of how fun it is. Janitor. Janitor is it's a pretty unique role. I think it's definitely a B tier role. It's pretty good. I'd say it's probably behind Doctor in terms of how good it is. Actually, I'll put Doctor above Bodyguard, I think, just because Doctor can Doctor doesn't die when they heal someone. A janitor picks a role and if that target is killed, then they clean the body and they know the role that they cleaned and no one else does. And in the graveyard it will show up as cleaned and that no one can tell who it is except the janitor knows. Sorry, that was a terrible explanation, but janitor is a very fun role, and I don't really want to get into the details of it, but it's one of the better Mafia roles, I think. Jester. Jester is a very polarizing role. You either love it or you hate it. Me, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about Jester. Is it fun? It can be really fun, but it can also be really fucking annoying. I think I lean more towards the hate aspect of it, to be honest. It's probably low C tier or high D tier, in my opinion. Just because you can die so easily, and then if you die, you lose your win condition. And it's hard to actually get lynched when people just don't give a shit about you. You either have to be annoying to get lynched, or the town has to just be stupid. And if the town is smart enough, you just never get lynched. So I guess I'm on the more hate end of the Jester scale. It can be really fun role, but solo Jester is not fun. And that's where I'm kind of ranking these. If you're playing with buddies, I guess you can kind of make it a little bit more fun, but yeah, it's whatever. Lookout, yeah, it's a pretty boring town role. You look at someone and it tells them that they visited them. It could be helpful, like most town roles, but it's also pretty boring. Oh my goodness, I made a dumb mistake. The white rose is the mafioso, and the red rose is the godfather. So, white rose, mafioso, godfather. Is it an S tier role? It might be. Yeah, it's probably. Is it better than arsonist? No. Godfather is immune at night, and they basically command the mafia. You're very powerful, and that's about it. You're very powerful. If everyone else dies, then you actually do the killing yourself. You command the mafia, you get to pick who to kill. You have a lot of power, a lot of power. But a lot of times it's not a lot of times. Sometimes you're just rat it out pretty easily because some sheriffs in basic mode can just find you immediately. It just sucks sometimes, but yeah, the Godfather in the early rounds is amazing. Late rounds is amazing. It's very fun to play as the GF. Okay, Mayor. Another polarizing role. Some people hate it. Some people like it. This time, I'm more on the like side of it. I think it's pretty fun. I have had games where I've not claimed I was or where I've revealed at the very end of the game, only to win the game because of that. And what they do is they can pick a time to reveal, and when they reveal, they get 3 votes. And these 3 votes are just so pivotal in determining elections or who to lynch. But the unfortunate thing is, when you reveal, you cannot be protected by a bodyguard or doctor. However, this is completely offset by the fact that the game mode I play, most of the time, there's usually some sort of lookout or transporter to help you and look out for you. So that's pretty helpful. I think it's not bad. Speaking of transporter, oh, there it is. Okay, I was looking for the wagon. Usually it's the wagon symbol, it's the transporter. So we got Amnesiac, medium. And medium is a below average town roll. Some people like it, but most people don't. Most people actually hate this roll. It's a simple roll where all you do is you can talk to the dead people. Now, in ranked, it's very good. It's actually borderline busted sometimes because they can really reveal really painful information. But sometimes there's just no one to talk to, and it really sucks. And that's why they're maybe really low C tier, but it's a high D tier, I guess. Their mediums can be very helpful, but no one really likes medium, I guess. Speaking to a role that no one really likes, this role, I think, is bad, but it's still okay, I guess. Retributionist is fine. You can pick, there's a bunch of little abilities. You pick abilities from the dead people to use once a night, and I seem to like it more than most people. So I'd probably put it a little higher than most people would, but I'd probably put it at low C tier. Just because of the abilities that you can really use. Sometimes it could be very helpful, other times it could be garbage. Serial Killer. This is a pretty easy ranking. I'm going to put it at A tier, clearly A tier for me. Above the Consig, maybe the best A tier, maybe in front of the Amnesiac. Just because when you get Serial Killer, you get that really dark blue text, and it's really satisfying. That might sound retarded, but the dark blue text, synonymous with the serial killer. You're immune at night, and you get to kill 1 person a night. A very simple role, pretty effective though, and I really like it. Most people do. Hard to win as though. Honestly, in a lot of unranked game modes, it's a little hard. You have to make allies, especially with the witch, and if you make an ally with the witch, you really tend to win a lot more. Sheriff, that's a pretty, maybe above average town role. Maybe average, actually. Probably dead average. I'm putting it right next to the investigator. And they pick someone and it tells them if they're not suspicious. In fact, I think I like investigator more a little bit, so I'll put that there. We got our next F tier, and this one is just terrible. So much writing that you have to do in the whale for the spy. There's 2 abilities that the spy gets, and that they can tell where the mafia visited, which is not really that helpful most of the time. and they can bug someone's house to see what happened to them, which is also not that helpful sometimes, or 90% of the time. You can, I guess, spy can catch an arsonist if they catch someone dowsing, but then again, they're completely fucked because they have been doused since they visited that person. Yeah, here's the problem with spy though, and that that escort beats it because escort can at least prevent a bad guy from doing something. And in fact, escort can win or stall a game if there's a mafioso and an escort left. If there's just two, it'll end in a draw. Spy can't do shit. They have no protection, and their ability is terrible. They're not fun either. And going back to another not fun role, Survivor. Survivor is just so boring. It's just painful. I hate playing Survivor. And you put on a vest and you get shot, you live, but it's just, you have no allegiances and you can't side. You have to side with everybody, but if you side with everybody, people think you're evil. So you don't really have any good options. So what I end up typically doing is I pick a town role and then just hope no one bothers me. And if you don't vest, you get 4 of these vests that protect you at nights, and you can use them. So you're basically pretty much protected throughout the entire game, but people will just still lynch you, especially if you claim immediately at the beginning of the game that you're Survivor. It's just really annoying because 50% of the time the Survivor claims are evil. And that pisses me off, and that's why I hate Survivor. Going back to I keep saying going back to, but there's nothing to go back to. Transporter is the next role, and it is a good town role. I'd say it's a B tier town role. They can stall out the game, or they can really fuck the town over, but they can do some really cool shit. They can make the mafia kill themselves, which is single-handedly one of the coolest things in the game. Very funny to see a mafia kill the mafia and get that juicy achievement for doing so. Janitor's probably a little higher on my list, and Transporter's probably right there in the middle, I guess. Okay, Vampire Hunter. The fun factor's just kind of bland. At least you become a vigilante, which afterwards, if you kill the vampires, which a vigilante only shoots 1 bullet. But the vampire hunter goes around, they click at somebody, and if a vampire visited that person, or that person is a vampire, they will kill them. Pretty simple, pretty boring, D tier role probably for me. Lookout's probably not that low, to be honest, though. It's probably up there. Maybe Jester's a little higher. I don't know. I'll think about that. Okay, but we get Vampire. Vampire is honestly pretty fun, in my opinion. I think most of the neutral roles are fun. And I put them very high B or low A. Don't quite know. I'd probably put them low A. They're not too powerful, but if there's enough vampires as a whole, they can really just win the game. That's why I put them at A, because it can be pretty fun having a whole entire team of vampires just running the game, and then Mafia not knowing what to do and not realizing that there's vampires. Veteran. This is one of the best town roles in the game, and it's going in A tier, top of A tier for sure. You have a lot of power. If someone visits you and you win on alert, you kill the people that visited you. Doesn't matter if they're good or bad, you kill them. Ugh. Since this video has gone on a little too long, I'm gonna hurry it up so it's at least gets done before 40 minutes. But the next three roles are all pretty good. Start with Vigilante. Vigilante is another A tier role. You get to pick three people, or you get to pick people, and you get to decide if they die. If you kill a good town guy, then you shoot yourself in the fucking brain. That's the worst part of this aspect, or this role. Also, I'm going to move Consigliere down a little bit. I think I overreacted when I made that, or when I made that remark that they were A tier. So we'll put them in B tier, probably behind the Mafioso. Maybe these are interchangeable. Can't decide. Ambushers, a little bit behind there. Okay. So far, so good. Werewolf. Oh, goodness, I love Werewolf and Witch. I put them both at S tier, but maybe I would. Actually, I don't know. Werewolf, you pick someone every other night, and you kill everyone who visited them and that person. Very fun. Harder to win as than, say, some of these other top tier roles like Godfather and Godfather and Arsonist, but still ridiculously fun. And then Witch is possibly the best. What most people say is the best role. I think Werewolf's my favorite role, but Witch is also ridiculously fun. And you get to pick a role, and you also have one immunity. You have one protection. You get to pick a role, and you get to choose where they die, or you get to you get to choose. I'm getting a little tired. You get to pick someone's role, or pick someone at night, and use their role on someone else that you get to pick. It'll tell you what role the person that you picked is, and you can do with that information as you may. So if you pick a serial killer, you can basically command the serial killer to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And that's why Witch is really good, Witch is beloved by everybody, and I have to say I really like Witch as well. I think this is a pretty good list. I think I would do the DLC characters, but I just don't have enough experience. I'm looking at it, see if I make any last minute adjustments. But kind of fit out nicely. Also kind of did a ladder with the S and the F having the least amount. Although the S having 5 is maybe a little bit too many for the S, but I still think it's pretty well deserved. All these roles are ridiculously fun, and all these roles are still ridiculously fun, especially these three. Actually, these two. These two are really good. You could debate putting SK in S tier, but for me, I just think that maybe the Godfather is a little bit more fun since you have Mafia connections. But that's all for KZ Tizzle, and let me know how you like this list if you actually stayed to the end. You don't have to stay to the end in any of my future videos, but thank you, I appreciate it. And let me know what list you want next. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me throughout the entire video. Have a good one.